Hi, good afternoon. This is Charles Shapiro. I'm the president of the Institute of the Americas, and I'm here with Ambassador Harry Thomas, the United States Ambassador to the Philippines, which is not part of the Americas last time I checked, but used to be.
Used to be.
Used to be. So we're going to talk about the Philippines a little bit. Ambassador Thomas, the people who ordinarily come to our website are going to be watching this podcast, don't follow the Philippines. What should their takeaway be?
Well, I think what they should really think about is just how close the Philippines and Americans are. And I think that's one of the things that I want to impart today to your followers, Ambassador Shapiro, that Filipinos and Americans have a tradition of going back over 100 years, that the fifth largest community in America of immigrants are Filipinos. Tagalog is the fifth largest language spoken in the United States, and that it's growing, that the Filipinos are our 13th largest trading partner in food and beverage, growing by 20%, and they have every franchise known to man, including Shakey's and Kenny Rogers, who are no longer in business in the United States. They're there.
They're still open there.
Shows that music ties. Everybody comes to the Philippines, old and young. But it's people to people that counts, and that's what we're very interested in. We have a lot of ties with the Philippines that people do not realize. You know? If you graduate from the top Filipino law schools, you can automatically sit for the California and New York bar. That used to be automatically admitted. We have the only Veterans Administration overseas, and they give foreign aid. The only place they do. The Philippines, the largest American cemetery outside the United States is in the Philippines. 17,500 Americans and Filipinos are buried there, and we have a very large veteran community. We think of the World War II veterans, the Philippine Scouts, whom we honor every day, but now we have 20% growth the last 3 years in American veterans of Iraq and Afghanistan.
Wow.
Because of VA. They're also able to use the GI Bill and go to school there.
In the Philippines?
Go to school, yes, the university. Philippines has quite excellent universities, several rated in the top 100 internationally in the world, and they're able to go there for the equivalent of about $6,000 or $7,000 US a year, sometimes often cheaper. So we have a lot of people ties that our fellow Americans don't often think of, but the most important is democracy, freedom of speech, a Bill of Rights that both countries have, and that's something we share.
The Filipino economy is booming right now.
It is growing. The stock market is very hot. They've had growth of about 7% the previous 2 years. This year it'll probably be down to 4 or 5%. This is still the after effects of the Japanese tsunami last year. Semiconductors that come from Japan to the Philippines, that Japanese exports have been down, that caused Philippine manufacturing to slide a bit. Tremendous growth in the BPO, or business processing outsourcing industry. We're looking to create American jobs, but there are a lot of jobs that are in that BPO industry. Philippines is #1 now.
I saw that. What happened? I mean, everybody in the United States thinks of India as being where outsourcing takes place, but the Philippines is the #1.
In voice, it's about 600,000 people. They hope to grow it to 1.8 million. In data, it is still India. You know, our job is to protect American jobs, to promote American businesses and growth. But it's a fact that that's one of the areas of the Philippine economy that's growing. The weakness in the Philippine economy, however, is foreign direct investment. They do not allow for more than 40% ownership in most industries, and no foreign ownership or leasing of land. So compared to the Asian tigers, they don't see that. And then there's massive corruption. The new president is honest, has made a war on corruption that's been very popular with people, and he's made procurement and other types of issues open. You can see those on the website. But it's going to be a long, long, tough road to eliminate corruption. And that was his campaign theme. So the economy is booming, but it's not for all parts of the Philippines. You still have 10% of Filipinos living abroad, sending remittances back, about $20 billion a year remittances back, that really holds up the economy also.
The strength of the Filipino economy, is it focused only in Manila, or is it evenly dispersed throughout the country?
No, it's not evenly dispersed. The major part of it's a consumer-driven economy. Manila, Metro Manila is the largest area, but Cebu in the south, port area is also very large. These are the areas that have the Philippine export zone. Timex, for example, is based there and ships 100% of their watches from there, makes 80%. There's a little company that I like to talk about called Moog International up in Baguio, which was the American summer capital during occupation. Mr. Moog invented the synthesizer, so that's why people of our generation
I remember it. Remember him fondly.
But he has one of his companies in the Philippines does the hydraulics for the flaps of all Boeings and Airbuses, and also the toggle switches in the cockpits. 1,800 employees, only 2 are American, and that is a very high-tech company, a lot of engineers. So they do a lot of the low-tech semiconductors, but they can also do high-tech, and it's up in Baguio. I think that one of the major areas, and there are no American companies involved, where there's a dispute over where they want to go in the future, is mining. Catholic Church is very influential in the Philippines, is opposed to mining. Philippines has large reserves in mining. It's a game changer, especially if they're unwilling to change other parts of their economy. We don't take a position on this, especially without any American companies there, but that is one of their reserves. The other is because of all the natural disasters they have there, they're one of the leaders in renewable energy.
How does the Philippines fit into, the overall context of East Asia economic growth? China's booming, South Korea's booming, Japan is stagnant but coming back just a little bit. You've got Southeast Asia doing real well. How does the Philippines fit in?
Within ASEAN, in Southeast Asian 10, 11 states, Philippines ranks around number 9 for doing business. And that is, again, the Achilles heel. In all the economic freedom data, the corruption data, they are in the bottom quarter percentile of countries around the world. And without effective competition, with massive corruption, with a very slow legal system, it inhibits the type of growth that you see in other economies. And they have a population of nearly 100 million. And so you have a big challenge, and that's why continued growth is a really, real big issue. This government is doing something called conditional cash transfer, where they're making sure that the very poor will go to school, good health care in exchange for giving them money. But as we know in this country, welfare, conditional cash transfers are Band-Aids. You have to be able to give people jobs and opportunity. The other thing that they are changing is the education system. Right now, Philippines is K to 10, and now they're going to go to K to 12.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Something they inherited from the Americans.
but we changed and they didn't.
They did not, and they understand. Most Filipino kids go to university when they're 15 or 16, as opposed to 18. And it's a big difference going to university when you're 18.
Are recent university graduates still going abroad in the same percentages as 20 years ago?
Most of those going abroad are from the upper economic class for university education. They have about 10 world-class universities in the Philippines. But after that, not as good underfunded state universities. So those will be the children that can go to international schools of some sort, and they'll go abroad for undergraduate or even graduate education, very much so. But the poor, no chance, or even the middle class.
Here in Southern California, there's a very large Filipino population. How are Filipinos abroad? How can Filipinos abroad help back home? What is it they're doing? What can they do?
One of the things we're really pleased about in the last few years, Filipinos have started to change. They come from large families, so tradition has been to help your family members, which is fully understandable, especially those in poverty. But now when we've had typhoons and other challenges, Filipino communities, particularly in California, but in other parts of the United States, have donated. Now they're forming overseas organizations, Pinoys for Good Governance, Philippine Society of the United States, which was just formed last week under the auspices of John Negroponte and a Filipino named Manny Pangilinan, with Frank Wisner also on the board.
Wow.
So those are starting to come, and I think that will be to the benefit of the Philippines, but also for Filipinos in the United States who want to educate Americans, particularly those in Washington, about the wonders and greatness of the Philippines.
Let me ask you one final question. Yeah. If you were an American and you had money you wanted to invest, and you were looking at the Philippines, what would you recommend to them? Direct investment in the Philippines, invest in Kenny Rogers? What should they do?
Well, so many Americans do come to look in the iTech sector, and I think it's up to the Americans to choose which sector. But when I go back, I'm going to meet a guy for the first time next Friday named Barrett Comiskey. Mr. Comiskey is the person who patented the window for the Kindle. And he's a Stanford MIT guy who's relocated his family to the Philippines and come up with a company called Miko. And they're going to take the memory chip from 1G and 2G phones. So you can take it to a kiosk and download it for about 20 cents and put it back in your phone and watch a TV program or a movie one time.
One time?
One time. One time. And it's beta testing, and I'm told, is going very well. So I wanted to raise that to show the idea of a young American entrepreneur who's already had a product that's world known, who's coming up with something else. So working with young Filipinos. So that is something that is kind of out of the box, and it's exciting. So you see Americans, and we of course have a very large foreign commercial service there to assist them doing this.
Great, that's terrific. Ambassador Thomas, I want to thank you. This has been informative for me, and I hope it is for our viewers as well.
Thank you so much, Ambassador.
Thanks, appreciate it.